Who am I? Mosaic. Mosaic, colon, who am I? I was once in the ancient Roman port for Rome, whose name escapes me. Ruins that were very easy to visit, just walk around. And I remember walking on and around these mosaics on the floor because there were these public baths in this area we were visiting. And I touched the mosaics, I'm sorry to report, and these Roman mosaics were still there. You could see how they were made. They were these, from the top they look like little squares, but each one of those squares is actually a long spike with maybe 2 to 3 inches deep into the ground and just half an inch above the ground to make the mosaic. So these were firmly driven into the ground. I even had at some point one of those pieces. I won't say how I acquired it. Mosaics have this quality that if you look from far away, you may see one thing. Maybe an artist was representing a fish or a different animal or a goddess. But when you get close, you see all a myriad of little squares from the top again, but a myriad of spikes. They're actually spikes. It's interesting when on close inspection something becomes something quite different, a spike, a square. And once I read that the Zen studies have shown that our psyche is a mosaic. We tend to define ourselves as one-dimensional, or society defines us as one-dimensional. But we are much more complex than that. A friend of mine was going through these meditation exercises asking, who am I? And there's no single answer for that. We can tell a story about ourselves, we can describe one aspect of ourselves, but that doesn't make us ourselves, per se. I feel there's a lot of pressure on society for us to be one-dimensional. That's more efficient in principle for society at large. If somebody is just a truck driver, and somebody is just a doctor, and somebody is just filleting chickens in a chicken processing facility. That might be true for some forms of economic organization where people have one job, one dimension, and there is a certain level of exploitation. By having one dimension workers, there is more ability to generate a profit from the labor. We talked before about basically half of the workers in today's U.S. economy are disposable. They are having jobs that are not very skill rich, and so the first signs of economic trouble, they can be fired and then easily replaced if the time comes to replace them. But I think for us, it's very natural to be more than one dimension. We like many things. And society frowns on people who try different things. It's like they cannot find what they want to be, but maybe they are the ones on the right track. Maybe they are the ones who are enjoying this ability we have to be different things. I always been like that in every dimension. Here I am speaking in English. I'm a native Spanish speaker, but I have acquired English to the point where I dream and think in English. I can manage other languages, but definitely English and Spanish are two that are embedded in my mind to the point where I can just fully operate with a language, with one of them. And they bring differences, but that's a different story, the difference between English and Spanish, let's say. But then I am two different persons. The person communicating in English y la persona que habla en español. Son personas diferentes. Cuando hablo en español, vengo de otro lugar, vengo de un lugar más íntimo, vengo de mi madre, vengo de mi madre materna mujer y de mi madre patria. Vengo de Quijote, de Pablo Neruda. When I speak in English, I come from a different place. I come from graduate school, I come from professors, I come from newspapers, The New Yorker and Faulkner and Seamus Heaney. My name, I was named Jorge, but then my father was already named Jorge, so everybody in the family, since I was a baby, called me by my middle name, Robbie. And then when I got to high school, I went by Jorge. And when I went to college, at first I was Robbie. And so I was Jorge and Robbie switching constantly. Some people didn't know there was a Jorge, and some people didn't know there was a Robbie. But I could manage both. I knew this person knows me as Robbie. My mother knows me as Robbie. My high school buddy knows me as Jorge. And my university buddy knows me as Robbie. Then I migrated to the United States and I started using George. My driver's license to these days is George and my passport says Jorge. And I know I should fix that, but I haven't because I feel like I am two different people. Or more than two, three now, because there's George. Here I am in Brazil, and people call me by Jorge. That's Jorge. That's the Portuguese pronunciation. In Italy, I was Giorgio. Some friends who know me really well will call me by Robito, which is the diminutive of Robbie in Spanish, used by my mother. And who am I? I don't need to sweat about being one person. I have different names. I have two passports. I have two primary languages. I have lived in so many countries. I mean, if we count countries where I have lived at least 1 month or 2 or 3, I have lived in Uruguay, I have lived in Brazil, in Mexico, the United States, Germany, Italy, Thailand, China. Professions. I wanted to be a movie director. I loved movies. That was the thing I really enjoy studying and watching and doing. But then I had to be very practical, and I chose a very transferable profession, which was a pain to study, but I studied engineering. And I'm not a natural engineer. My personality is not even close to that of an engineer. But I did it. And then I became a researcher. And then I was a patent attorney. And then I went back to school and I got a Master of Fine Arts, and I'm being a professional artist. And people would think, but what are you? I know all those things. All and none. I am a mosaic. I have a very heterosexual drive, but I'm not against homosexuality. Who knows? I may experiment someday. I'm rather liberal politically, but I may lean conservative for some things. I was raised Catholic, and I have been very attracted to Buddhism, but right now I'm more like a pagan here, screaming how divine this universe is. The point again and again is that I am a mosaic. I am many different things that make me who I am, and there's not a big picture, maybe it's just many of these pixels, of these mosaic tiles, mosaic spikes driven hard into the ground that make me who I am. I'm a very easygoing person, but I can get angry. But being angry sometimes doesn't make me an angry person. It's quite different. There are people who are angry because they are just in a state of internal state of anger. Manifesting anger is a different thing. I can be a funny guy, I can be a clown. I am a clown, not really, but I behave like one sometimes. I really identify with gorillas. I see them in my meditations, and I have an internal gorilla myself, this gentle beast. I have used even the artist name Saint Gorilla. Oh, let's not get started about the artist names I have used. I have been also Juan Luna during an art resistance project of 2 years to save a piece of land. And then I was Juana Luna in Mexico for another resistance project where I was writing letters, make emails, and creating a lot of noise about the project in Mexico. And I was Juana Luna. I had social media accounts, email, everything as Juana Luna. Don't be reduced to one dimension. Life is so rich that we can enjoy many more dimensions than just one. Don't let market forces corner you into being one skill, one thing. It's hard. Sometimes the more you are doing something, the more you are rewarded. People get promotions doing the same thing over and over, but there's a point of... Thank you. Wonderful bird that's singing. There's a point of diminishing returns. Remember, they make me one with everything, the becoming infinite, where I am this tree, I am under, I am those frogs chanting, I am that bird singing, I am the roaring river, the roaring rapids, I am the cloud, I am the approaching rain, I am the mountain in the distance, I am everything. I am nothing by being everything. Love. You can love more than one person. You may have just one partner in life. That's beautiful. A growing relationship with partnership with one person, that's extraordinary. But still, you can love more than one person. I have the love of my life. I have the last love of my life. I have the first love of my life. I have the crazy love of my life. I have the profound love of my life. I have the sensual love of my life. I have the magical love of my life. I have the committed love of my life. I have the having children love of my life. I am the gorilla. I am the tree. I am the river. I am that 5-year-old kid with a red tricycle who falls in grandmother's garden. I am the 11-year-old going to a summer camp. I am the artist. I am the engineer. I am the philosopher. I am the connector. So there are deep psychological consequences to seeing ourselves as a composite, an aggregate. There are cultural, economic consequences about being multidimensional. And there are all these philosophical implications about being a single being, a single entity. I'm looking at my hand, and my hand moves, and it is my hand, but this is it, and that's in my hand in here, or the jungle it seems to be touching, even though it's a kilometer away. Is that jungle my hand to my body? I feel that the more one-dimensional we are, the easier we are to control, to tame, to distract, to exploit, to milk, to consume. Don't let anyone do that to you. Don't be justified by being white or black, or male or female. Of course, be aware of the privileges of being white, the privilege of being a man. Jesus, the male privilege. That's different. Sometimes people who have many dimensions are seen or called complicated. You're a complicated person. That's different from being complex. A mosaic is complex. A rhizome, we're a rhizome. The loose definition of a rhizome, multiple entry points, multiple exit points. We're complex. That doesn't make us a labyrinth, a complicated labyrinth. It doesn't make us a complicated puzzle. No, we are complex. We are sophisticated. We're an orchestra. We're not only a one-tone instrument, we are multiple tone instruments. We're an aggregate, an orchestra of instruments, each of them. There's a bat going around so early. That's weird. Mr. Bat, it's not even 4 in the afternoon. Wow, it's so overcast, the bat is flying around early. So the bat has decided to be complex and not be just a nocturnal animal. He's blind anyway, so why not be out early? Is that really a bat? Oh yeah, the way he's flying, that's a bat. I think he is. Wow. Rejoice in being complex, being multidimensional, being a mosaic, being a rhizome. But don't be entangled in all these multi-dimensions. Being entangled doesn't allow you to move. That becomes being complicated. have freedom in all these dimensions. Be the rook and be the pawn, be the queen and be the bishop. There must be a way out of here, said the Joker to the thief.